Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now April 19th of 2025, and given that the Katy Perry situation is only getting worse for the overall spaceflight backlash that not only herself is dealing with, but also Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos, and even Gayle King, they're all dealing with the ongoing mockery coming from the general public, and they have valid criticism as to why the overall way that this was actually displayed, the overall format that they chose, and why it's getting mocked, and exactly everything that comes along with it. Everything is becoming, of course, more and more valid as time moves on. Now, what's interesting about all of this has a lot more to do with Katy Perry's reaction / response, yet again, going against the critics and against the criticism, everything to do with those that are mocking her, Gayle King, and everyone else on board, and how Jeff Bezos instructed and orchestrated this entire thing. Well, let's get into the overall details about all of this. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about Katy Perry is that we know that she is not taking this criticism well. We know that at this point right now, she fully regrets even doing the Blue Origin spaceflight. That's exactly why she's losing her own fans, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew this, but even loyal followers of Katy Perry are just seeing how phony certain aspects of this really were. The way that she actually reacted, the way that she said things, and how she looked into the camera instead of looking at the window in certain shots of this overall, program that they actually displayed on live television. But what's interesting about this further has a lot to do with Katy Perry's overall damage control efforts for Blue Origin, for her overall spotlight associating herself with the Blue Origin spaceflight. But let's get into this further. Now, what's interesting about this is that with the Katy Perry backlash only getting worse, not just for herself, but also for Blue Origin and even Jeff Bezos, one significant development going on now involves more to do with Katy Perry yet again going against their critics and those mocking the Blue Origin spaceflight, where she recently delivered the following in an effort to engage in damage control. I think the real issue, she says at large here, is that I think there is this issue when you have a group of women going up to space. It wasn't so much the way that we built up this journey to space and the format that we chose to go with, but rather I think the core issue at large here that needs to be addressed is that there is a growing problem with women in the spotlight and how so many are just against that. A person's status or wealth should have nothing to do with any of the criticism of how one gets up to space. Anyone saying that this was staged or over-exaggerated when it comes to our reactions, I think really have no clue what they are talking about, because look, we really were risking our lives in that spaceship. You never know what's going to happen. We dealt with the very same risks that the many astronauts deal with on a daily basis, and now I truly understand what they were going through to protect humanity. Our journey and flight to space took so much time and effort and so much training, and anyone trying to devalue that training we took part in, I think is only contributing to the unnecessary criticism that those like myself and Gayle are receiving. This was the very first true female group to make their journey up to space, and it is something that should be truly celebrated, but instead we are being accused of using this opportunity as some form of a publicity stunt. Again, not true. Our reactions were as authentic as can be, both when we went up and when we came down. It's the same reaction any other astronaut would actually have during and after their first journey to space. Now guys, let me just pause here for a second. Now, look, the term astronaut, N-O-T, is going around a lot right now. A lot of people are coming up with that overall meme and their way of basically defining Katy Perry and Gayle King and the rest of the crew on board over there. They are astronauts. They are not actual astronauts that go up to space and really do, work on the ISS and do all of these different things around the orbit. But what's interesting about this, again, is the fact that she's going on to drag in gender politics into the Blue Origin spaceflight. This is just typical behavior coming from celebrities like Katy Perry. It's not a big shocker there at all. We've heard this from her time and time again before in the past. She hasn't really pressed on this issue for a good while, I must add, so props to her for that, I guess. But here she goes again, doing this with Blue Origin and really doubling down on gender politics. She continues, I think us women deserve more respect, you know, after what we all went through. Anything could have happened to that ship. Anything could have happened to us. Nobody understands the bravery it took to accomplish something that I'm sure will go down in the history books for the years to come. And I am honored to have been part of this crew and really experiencing this very long journey with Gail. This took weeks of preparation, really acknowledging that this would be something in the media for a very long while. We just weren't expecting or receiving this type of response that we actually fully thought we would actually be dealing with. And I just hope that the many people out there not celebrating this journey, that they mature themselves and realize how big of an accomplishment this really was for women. Now guys, again, let me just stop here. The fact that she keeps going on about how there was so much training involved in this, really all they did was sit and they took a ride up to low orbit. That was about it. But what's interesting about this, again, is the fact that she keeps pressing on gender politics again and again. And look, we know that Gayle King, Katy Perry, Jeff Bezos, they're going to deal with a lot of backlash based on how they orchestrated this entire, live event that took place on television. It's not only getting mocked on social media, it's getting mocked in mainstream media. And look, the number one problem that I have is the fact that this is getting more press through some media outlets out there, positively speaking, of course, than the astronauts that were actually risking their lives, that were stuck in the ISS for so very long, that were only just recently brought down to land. And the fact that that's not being, focused on more so than this, I think it really tells you everything that there needs to be told through some media outlets out there. Some, of course, media channels as well. So she goes on to conclude, could misogyny be playing a role in all of this? It's definitely possible. I am not ruling that out. I feel we wouldn't be getting this response if we had some guys on board. I can only hope that more American citizens get the chance to make this journey and experiencing everything that we did. It truly changes your entire life, having this small experience as an astronaut. So again, the fact that they keep pressing that they experienced the same exact thing as an astronaut, well, they're not up there for like days, months, anything like that. They went up there for, minutes on end and then came crashing back down. That's basically what it was. Now, look, we know at the same exact time, we know that they are trying to prop themselves up. I really do believe that there are some angles to this that they viewed as a publicity stunt. There's no doubt about that. We know that Katy Perry lost her popularity over the years for multiple reasons out there, even losing fans now over how she did indeed over-exaggerate certain aspects of this Blue Origin spaceflight. We all know that's basically what happened there. Look, I mean, the very first moment when they went up and Katy Perry's just looking into the camera, holding that little daisy in her hand, having those dead eyes in the camera instead of looking out the window, I think it told you also everything that needed to be told, that they weren't really valuing what they were really doing. It was really all about the attention, right? That's, I think, really the core issues of why they're getting a lot of backlash here. That's just one of the many problems. But anyway, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.